Hello. I was going to say good morning because it is morning here and it's very, very late where you are, Honor. And I know where a lot of our followers are watching in the States and over in Canada, it's the middle of the afternoon. So I think we're like 7 a.m., 2 p.m., 10 p.m.
Wow,
where you are. Um,
amazing.
but so thank you so much for staying up. Um, this is my beautiful friend Honor, and we met. I think it was via Facebook, and also
Yeah.
I've been following you on TikTok as well, where you're absolutely doing amazing. I'm so proud of you, just going live and putting out content. You're so inspirational. Do you want to tell everyone a little bit about your kind of content and what you put out?
Don't know, I've been doing it for I think about 2020, I really started, I think, well, I've always been talking art, kind of. I've been quite no problem doing that. But in this aspect, in the spiritual, I was out, yeah, I was in my pajamas all the time. Out there, just, whatever, looking like, ooh, sharing my thing, yeah. Um, who knows? It just comes to you. You don't even, yeah. You can't. It's like anybody. I think you're just guided. I mean, it's like you're inspired. It just comes to you, and you just,
Yeah.
yeah, inspired to share it. And there we are. Just went from there, and
And look how far it's grown since then. It's amazing. And I love that you actually wait for that inspiration to hit and then you just go live, because there's so many people that have so much to say that, are afraid to go live or are afraid of judgments and things like this.
I
But your
know.
message is so much more important than that.
I wish, it's like I was thinking about people. There was a young man that follows me on TikTok, Aiden Bethan. And at the moment, what he's saying is very relevant, especially to the younger generation. So I'm so glad he's talking out, because really important what he's talking to now, that he's really going to resonate and help the younger generation. And apparently, because he told me, so I don't know how I ended up seeing him, who knows, but his mother saw me on TikTok, his stepmother, and his stepmom
Ah,
said, "Oh, look, look at her and whatever. You should go. You should talk." So I inspired him, thank goodness, to go live. To start doing TikToks. Thank goodness, because I think he's doing such a good job. So it's so funny. And another person I spoke to today said the same thing. They need to get over there. I said, "Look at me, for heaven's sake. I don't wear makeup at all. I mean, half the things I look like I'm in my pajamas, I'm in bed. I just you just share. You just say
yeah.
what's and you encourage other people then not to be shy, not to be, just to be yourself, just to say what, and if people don't like it, they don't like it. Because
Yeah.
the right people will find it. That's it.
Yeah, I think that's wonderful. And it will inspire many people hearing that too. So I was thinking, just to start the show off as well, maybe if you can talk a little bit. I did hop up through the night, as I was just telling you backstage, and I checked out one of your TikToks that you were doing when I couldn't sleep, because there was so much energy coming in last night, even to get off to sleep. Do you want to share with the audience a little bit about what was happening for you last night and what you were picking up on?
Oh, I woke up. I mean, I do this when the energy comes in. I don't sleep. So for me, it's a common thing. That's not sleeping when they come in. I know it, and then I can be awake for about 2 nights, and then eventually, you sleep. So it's like a revolving pattern. But it was early hours of this morning. It came to me. I looked outside and I thought something is odd, and you could feel it. There was much more. You could physically see it as well. Much more light on the planet. And then the knowing came to me. You know how these downloads come. That
Yeah.
you could see there was a significant change. There's been a shift in the planet. It hit a certain amount, so we've gone over the light quadrant on the planet's changed. You could see it, you could feel it. It was like wow. And I
Mm.
mean, at the moment again, we've had another one. So I can feel my head, the pressure. It's like weight on the head and tingling, and the cells buzzing. Oh my gosh. So yeah, I don't know, but it's a big thing. But I can't tell you what the outcome's going to be. I can just tell you it's you just know, wow, it's like a tip, something we've crossed something.
Yeah.
Whatever that means for us, I don't know. It's
And
going to
I
obviously on the outside, we'll see. Let's see.
Yeah, definitely. And I think there was a few other people when I checked just in the middle of the night, there was a few other people saying something about, positive shifting and timeline shifting and things like that as well. And I can see some of our beautiful soul families joining us. Hi, John. Hi, Lisa. Hello, other John too. And Stephanie, thank you so much, everyone, for joining us. And Stephanie had a good point too. She said love and self acceptance of self and others. And I think that's so important. And we've got Lisa saying, yes, tingling on the scalp and pressure. That's what I'm feeling too. And just to do with our show tonight, it was funny, even before we came up with the show, Spirit was guiding me, watch the movie, I think it was Everything Everywhere All at Once, which is kind of about that multidimensional timeline jumping. I forget what the name of the actress is. I think it might be Michelle something from Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon. And there was another actor, I think, from The Goonies. He may have been the kid from The Goonies with the camera. So from my childhood, but now as an adult actor, I swear it was the same actor. But yeah, that was really interesting. I did nod off towards the end because it was a really long movie. But it's similar to what we're going to be talking about today with these timelines and things. And it had, I guess, obviously, like, the bad guy going through multiple different timelines, trying to destroy the positive. So I think it's so important right now that we do hold the positive on the timeline, and we can see how it's trying to be controlled, manipulated. So today we're going to talk about some of the positive things that are happening on timelines. And one of those is what you and I were talking about the other day. I went outside to have a look at feeding Daddy Duck, one of our ducks, Quacky Chan, that we've got here. Well, actually, he's just gone to a new home. But yeah, I saw him. And then all of a sudden, there was like this other overlay of a soul energy over the top of him. It almost looked, in movies like Alice in Wonderland, the older version, and other movies where they have animals as human characters, where they might walk around or have, a personality or wear a bow tie.
But they
These
do.
types.
They all
Yeah,
have, just like
they
us, they all
do.
have individual characteristics and personalities and soul aspects because they're
Definitely.
playing in the body. Yeah.
Yeah. So I was looking at him outside the window. All of a sudden, there was this almost like human-like overlay. It was like an imprint or a template over the top of the animal version of him. Later that same day, I saw crows. Same thing, two of them with almost like a human aspect overlay, which kind of goes to do with the timeline that some of our beautiful elders over here speak about, where the animals will start to speak to people, and we will kind of see them as another, I guess, a tribe, animal tribe. So that would have been some of the crow tribes and the duck tribe that I saw the other day. But it will get to that point of where we're able to more telepathy and heart-to-heart communicate. So I think things really are shifting. We had that show, The Thinning of the Veil, that I did not too long ago, where we actually had a green giant show up in the background, this beautiful heart-shaped ET looking face that Garrick picked up on from 1111 Matrix Decoded. His channel's amazing too. But yeah, are you noticing other shifts like that too for the positive, like with the codes you were receiving last night and different things like that?
What I've seen, it's becoming it's much easier. You're more conscious of the things because everything is here. That's what I've now, you get to different stages of awakening or awareness. So like you said, everything is here right now. We didn't get that. We're still thinking of dimensions, like we're going to go there. It's one, two, like layers, but it's multidimensional. And everything is actually right here, right now. Literally. If you could say resonate with all dimensions at once, you would see everything around you. They are here all the time. It's just they resonate with different frequencies and we're moving through them. So it's like a movie clips. Yeah. So yeah, I've experienced that, and you're able to drop into them. Like something I was focusing on, you're manifesting a dream, or you've got this visualization you want to manifest, right? So we know it always forms in the frequency version before it manifests into the physical. You've got to build up the energy, so it's there. You put you focus on it, and you can see whatever you want to get, right? So you see it. And the other day I moved into that actual frequency, or that it was amazing. So I moved almost timelines into this, and it was the most amazing. Yeah, on my astral, actually experiencing it, feeling it, was you in it. It was just, so yeah, I'm noticing it more easily. And I've already had that thing where I've woken up and seen everybody here, and it was funky. So, I mean, when think of past, present, and future, there was like all timelines, like all frequencies, and what we call time, because you're looking at past and ancient, all at the same. They were just here. It was like the veil dropped, and I was like, "This is weird." There's just people everywhere, because we think everything's solid, but I mean, we know this is not. It's not a real. Nothing is solid. And science is
Yeah.
now, it's a holographic, even the table. So everything is frequency. We're just a stream of consciousness. And if we start realizing, like you were talking about nature, we've forgotten a bit, like the ancients, there was a slightly lower consciousness because they're still seeing it. There are consciousnesses, like the animal consciousness, the birds, it's like like humans, mass consciousness. We got a collective consciousness as a playing as humans. Trees
Yeah.
have a collective consciousness. The elementals have a collective consciousness. The birds, blah, blah. So yes, they do have collective consciousness, but they're not us and them. We keep seeing ourselves as separate from nature. You know what I mean? We
Yeah.
are nature's. There's the instead of if the more we start and see is everything is source, all made up from source, then you will find it easier to experience those when you haven't separated yourself. So we don't keep boxing things. If we just see that the tree, I am the tree is me. We're all part of the same. We're all made up from the same. And then
Mm.
it's easier for us to be able to tap into it, I should say.
Yeah.
When we don't try and, okay, that's, everything's boxed and it's in frequencies and it's in this and it's, yeah.
It's interesting to experiment, play with that. I remember reading a book, I think it was back in college days, so a long time ago now, but I think it was God I Am, I think the book was, and it talks about, as you were saying, like that energy within the tree. So you see yourself as God within the tree. I remember sitting and meditating after I read that book and just seeing myself and feeling myself in everything all at once. And it was interesting. I was the tree, I was the bird, I was the ground that I was sitting on. And there was this multidimensional expansion that took place, and just sort of feeling my energy ripple out just from my body to be contained in everything all at once. And I think this is the interesting thing, is like when we start to experience or start to shift our consciousness and start to play with reality and know that it's not as solid or as physical. Yes, there is that aspect to it with the third dimension, and things very much, do happen in this reality. But yeah, one thing I've been playing with.
We will start seeing that is not. You see, we're seeing it as solid.
Exactly.
We will start seeing now, the more you get this, that it's lucid, it's not so solid, and you can. We're just not conscious of us shifting between the dimensions. That's how you're doing anyway in your astral. You're shifting all the time. All we're going to do is, like you, when you want to focus on something, right? You think about it, like becoming, and you become part of the tree. That's all it is. So when we resonate, if we just, you can, then it's the same thing. You're shifting. You can tap into that frequency, and then you're able to communicate with it. Like you said, the tree, the animal, the dog, that's all it is. It's a focus. It's focusing your energy or your onto that. So it's resonating with that, whatever you're trying to communicate with. Yeah. Being, thing, whatever.
And that's so true. That leads me on to talking about, I've been really diving more into law of assumption work at the moment and connecting with Neville Goddard's work and a few other people online. And it's really interesting to watch that shifting of reality, when you're experiencing or seeing whether it's, someone interacting a certain way with you or some situation playing out one way, to go in to, compose yourself, to kind of feel and adjust the story within to see the way that you want it to be. And then all of a sudden you see it reflected back to you. It's almost like a rewind on a story and then pushing play on a different timeline. It's so fascinating.
What we ask, we attract. That's what people don't realize. And same with these negative agendas. When we woke up, you notice when this first happened, like the Uluru and everything, we went on a very high. It was a lot of light, and there was such positivity, and there was this, and then the game started going up to bring the frequency and the vibration down. And then these little, movements started, and the negative stories, and whatever else, and this is happening, and that purposely was fed into the community, and that people started focusing on these, oh my gosh, it's terrible, and lowered the frequency, because they know anything, a judgment, hate, separation, all these things lower your frequency, because there's judgment, there's hate, there's blame, there's fear, whatever.
Yeah.
So that movement really infiltrated and captured people's consciousness, because when you haven't done your lower chakras and your clearing, whatever you're resonating with, of course you're going to resonate with it, because you're on that same frequency, fear, control, fight it, whatever else. You're going to be drawn to that. So we didn't understand frequencies, and the same with thoughts. They're all at different frequencies. All the thoughts, like these thoughts, like love, have resonated at certain frequencies. So whatever frequency you at, those thoughts come into that frequency.
That's so true. And I think,
Oh,
it's the people that you hang out with, it's the people that, you watch and consume online. You want to make sure that you're getting those positive vibes, that you're not sort of getting pulled into alternate timelines or into what we call fear porn, that side of things. So it's really important to maintain not just only like authenticity, but to maintain, I guess,
it's our
that
thoughts.
strict diet of energy. Yeah.
Yeah, it's our thoughts. Our thoughts are easily, and I've done it and I've practiced it. I've gone up and I've gone down, and let myself be distracted, and the mind gets so busy. And then those thoughts, because the thoughts are emotions, it absolutely, and any negative thoughts, it's trying to get the mind out of, well, if you can quieten the mind like the Buddhists do, the the best way to do it long term is to learn to keep the mind quiet,
Yeah.
not to have thoughts. I mean, and that means social media out the window. It's
Yeah.
mainly, you really got to have, because you are really, always trying not to feed the mind and stimulate the mind. That sets your frequency through the roof if you could stay in that sort of thing where you're out of the mind or you're just in alignment. But most people, because of what you do, you don't. So it's trying to learn to manage that then, and it's discipline, being in control of our thoughts, and the negative thought comes in and not, and keep it is not, and you build up momentum. It's
Yeah.
true what Abraham Hicks says. I've noticed that. The only way you can do it
Mm.
is because you can speak from practice. So when you go off a bit and you've now let yourself mind wander and you're building up momentum, you think of something and tomorrow you think of it a little bit more and the next day more and more, and you build up a negative momentum, and those negative thoughts just get, that's what you do. And I've practiced, I know it because I've actually experienced it now. It's not
Mm.
just, and it gets bigger and bigger, and before you know it, you can't stop thinking about that. Then you got to cancel that out and then slow that down and get your mind. So yeah, it is. I think we've done it for thousands of years. You see, when we fell from the higher to the lower, when we dropped into
Mm.
this, into the ego or the separation story after that Atlantis, or that's, or the fall led to the fall. We
Yeah.
dropped into that ways of separation and fear and oh no, and whatever, and they get negative, complete, negative mindset.
Yeah. I think that's where it's most important to get out to nature. And I think that's where, things like the fairy realms and some of the animal tribe realms are really starting to reveal. It's like when we are in that more observant mind. So definitely like meditation, get out in nature, healthy diet. I'm just going to have a look if there was anything else that we wanted to make sure that we were discussing. Oh, I was thinking we could pull some cards on timelines and things as well and see if there's anything that's coming up.
What are you
In,
seeing? Because I saw, and I said a while ago, I saw a couple of timelines, but you can see they're overlapping. I
yeah.
think it's a choice. And also for us to see, because we must understand everything is a reflection. And people are not looking at it like that, even on the collective and people. They're not seeing what is that person, what is that timeline, what is that thing reflecting. Um,
Yeah.
Many timelines we are over, that we are not parallel. We've obviously agreed to experience a certain amount and then for people to split off to choose that timeline. There are many timelines at the moment, and this is why there seems to be confusion out there. And people are saying, oh, there's hidden history. No, that wasn't there before. We are overlapping timelines.
Mm.
So that
Like
history
Tartaria.
belongs to this timeline, that belongs to that timeline. You've got many timelines you're able to experience at the moment, because we kind of crossed over a bit. We've got a few crossovers.
Yeah, and so we can see remnants of those old timelines and old places, and even I've seen when there's like double rainbows and different things, Pleiadian disk cities that are like crystalline cathedrals that are floating out on disk in the middle of the sky. So I think not only is there so much more like out there, there's so much more like right here in front of our faces. So with one of the positive timelines I've been seeing since I was probably about I would say 20, so more than half my life ago, one of the visions that I had, which was so strong, was that if we could stay in this positive timeline, if we could, anchor in love and gratitude and really kind of this bigger respect for each other and for the planet, that we would kind of be more accepted into the galactic neighborhood or brotherhood.
Yeah,
And
we
so I
were.
saw a portal open up and I saw children sitting on a rug outside in nature in front of this portal. And there was blue beings that had come to teach us about our true history and about our true nature of what it is to be a human. And
They're
what they
going
were
to.
saying,
Yeah.
Yeah, what they were showing me was it's much more of an expansive state compared to what we've been dumbed down to now. So it's pretty much they're teaching us how to work the hardware and the software in our brains. So I think that there's so much more to this human avatar that we're yet to learn. And I think that that's with this bending or, coming into more of the veil thinning or these timeline realities that are starting to collapse. We're actually seeing the true nature of who we are. And this is a big reason why I've been writing a course on activating the psychic senses, which will hopefully be out by the end of this year. So yeah, it's very exciting. I'm about to start the filming. I've got like all of the sections put together, but there has also been a timeline shift individually with these major retrogrades that we've just had in terms of planetary retrogrades and astrology. I really feel that it's, that we've all been sort of pulled back to this plateau or this pause to reevaluate, what we've done in the past. Where do we want to go in the future? So I sort of see even my own timeline shifting from more of a one-on-ones reading type of thing to working more like with groups or working more, with events and different things, and also creating my potions that I've been making. So
Yeah,
they'll be out. They'll be out this year.
I noticed that because someone asked me today. Some people, it's like a relay race, this whole thing. If you notice, some of us will go through clearing while others don't, and then they're quiet, then they come forward. So we're not always put out of action at the same time. Some are put on hold at the moment. Some of us are guided to start to act now, to actually, to manifest the heaven on earth into reality. And as you know, everything starts with energy first. Now to manifest it, you've got to take the action. So it actually grounded. So now to actually, because people are always waiting for things to change on the outside of governments to do something and hoping they will do the right or whatever. And that's, you're just going to be, that's never going to happen. So it's the vision that we've been given that we want. That's beautiful, because that's not going to come from the top, is to start doing it, is to start your businesses, your companies, your community, working together as a community and doing things together. And so, to manifest the heaven on earth, to do the actual action now, to step forward and lead people. I know. Interesting.
And I think, I think even just, like you and I connecting and others in, our beautiful soul tribe that we've got here, just all of these coming together of similar mindset and those that are wanting to hold this higher frequency is making a change. The more of us that get together, it's like these little batteries coming together to make this big, I don't know what you would call it, conductor or something. So maybe let's have a look into some cards, and we'll just have a quick look into what's happening with the timelines at the moment.
I think they're overlapping for that exact reason. And that's what I saw, because you can clearly see the different timelines, and they're not positive, some of them. It's because you can see this, if you keep on this road, this is the outcome, which is kind of, people are seeing, this is their thing. They're seeing the future. That's why they're worried. We don't want this, we don't want this. But if you stay on that, if you sit back and realize, okay, that's divide, that's judgment, that hate, is that from no. So let's not participate in that.
Yeah. And I think what Stephanie's saying here as well echoes that. So when we talk about timelines, the human mind wanders or wonders where I am in the mix. When I focus on a higher vibration, we know exactly when and where we are falling in the perfect timeline. So another example of that would be, I remember when I was a child learning to ride a bike without the training wheels, and I kept going down the hill and I kept smashing into a fire pit incinerator that we had in the backyard as a kid. And then all of a sudden my mum realized, oh, you're looking at what you don't want to crash into. Look where you want to go, not what you don't want. And I think even if we can apply just that simple little story to to where we want to go in terms of timelines, we actually need to start creating that reality with energy, with mindset, with positivity, with connecting with others that are on that same trajectory, and then starting to take outward action. So it might be, starting a TikTok or, things like this to help really kind of
actually starting. I'm watching it.
Yeah.
Now I see that it's just before the Light Queer community, everything was online guiding and this and that. Now I see it's already starting to go where they're starting to write, let's do this. And these people are guided to grow vegetables, people doing health things. And it's starting actually. And it's different. It's the first time I've seen it now, physically starting to manifest.
Yeah, It's a really exciting time to actually see that shift. And I think for just as much of the negativity and the fear and everything that there is on the planet, there's just as much beautiful moments and positivity. But we know, not that I watch mainstream news, but I remember, as a kid, when I'd see it, there was like maybe this much of a time spent on the positive story of, a dog that was lost being found. And most of it was just programming mass fear and things. So I'll have a look into these 4 cards that we've got here on the desk. I'll just feel into them, then we'll flip over. What's interesting is the feeling as soon as I run my hands over, I feel like I've actually been taken up and out of the timeline. So this is a little bit different to what I've seen with other timelines that have coming in. And I have woken up in the past where it's very much, you wake up and you're like, wow, what happened overnight? Like there's been a shift. We're in a different timeline. This is interesting. This is like a pickup type feeling. And I feel that it's almost like being suspended or being kind of cradled or held while not sort of like being too anchored on a timeline at the moment. So we'll just this is interesting. Oh my gosh. And we've got one that also represents like multiverse and different things too. So I'll just read them bit by bit. So love is the most important, highest frequency. So we've got the card of the lovers, and look at this orchestration happening at the top. So with this, you can see this godlike figure at the top in a chapel or in this high frequency place, ordaining or overseeing this connection of dualities. So maybe this pickup point that we're seeing is being cradled by God while the duality battle's still happening down here on earth. So it's coming into wholeness, it's coming into that connection with, God, I am, to move forward. We've got the Chariot. So this is the actual shifting of dimensions and realities. We're literally in those little Merkabahs, in those vehicles, those fields, and that's what we're shifting in. So it's not sort of thinking about a timeline being external. It is sort of thinking about, that energy vehicle that we're in is what's actually shifting. So then we have Queen of Cups, which is sort of as above, so below. But we see here this beautiful higher frequency that comes out of this candelabra that's over her heart. So we see this golden energy that's coming up out of the shell that's resonating with all of her upper chakras, and she's reflecting it into the lower realm. So it really is now that we need to, connect to love, connect to God, connect to higher self, maintain that energy of the vehicle or come into your Merkaba and then reflect it so that we can avoid these kind of timelines that we
That's
see.
the then so without. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah.
I
Yeah.
know.
So that's a little bit on what's coming up in the cards, which, how do you feel with that? How does that sit with you?
I've been trying to say that for a while to people, but it's been most of it projection because if most people are on a lower thing or they wake up and they think because I'm awake and I can see things and I can astrals or read cards and they are, that everything's fine, but then I'm participating in the looking for the dark and fighting the dark and looking for the bad and the blame and they're the bad guys, and that's shadow. That's all your own fear and shadow, and not in the divide. So not seeing, that it's like, okay. When you clear up, it's like all of us, when we stop looking outside, it's like the government. Who are the government? People.
Yeah.
And they reflect the collective consciousness of the people. So if you look at your government and be honest and look at yourselves or you will see it reflected in your community. Your leaders are reflecting. That's all it is. So unless, as I say, nothing changes as within. Once you change within, the outside will be reflected. The same with the timeline shifts, you'll shift. So yeah, absolutely been waiting for people to get that one.
Yeah. And I think this is a good reminder, all coming together in this space to just, think about, okay, what are the energies I'm interacting, but what am I broadcasting? What am I putting out today? Who am I connecting with? What reality am I choosing today? And it's interesting because I can feel these psychic senses activating auditory wise and just feeling like this dimensional shift, even just saying these. So it really is for us to use the senses to pick up on the world around us, but it's to also program that reality. So definitely check out, work on Law of Assumption or Neville Goddard's work. Kim Velez is another gorgeous lady online that's putting out a lot of content in regards to that. And then there's a few others as well. well. But it really is like, how are our thoughts influencing or creating our reality? And some people might have a lot more trauma to overcome in terms of, what they've experienced or what they've been shown to the world. But it really is up to us to not only recover from those sorts of things, but to,
This
find
is what I
support.
saw. This is the problem, and this is where we're
Yeah.
stuck at the moment because it's been thousands of years. So this is what, and the problem is it's not being shown. If we had a good intent on the ones that enough people wake up, they would start helping those, to help them through it. But as you say, it's not happening from the organizations or the principals or the leadership, obviously, not the government leadership or anything like that, because then they would be, like you're saying, bringing up these things that people would automatically go in, and they would be having offer these free, and let's scan it and let's take those magnets and let's clear those chakras. So we
Yeah.
would have, and you wouldn't need a prison. You would have such a free society, because instead of blaming people and being angry with them for doing something wrong, and understand it shadow, why are they behaving? Why are they fearful? Why are they angry? Get to the root and heal it. This is all energy. And if we could clear that, the entire planet would change.
Yeah. And I think there's a collective route and also, multiple different timeline routes and things. It really is about claiming our power back. And a lot of people, like, I guess with readings, I get to have a bit of a pulse on what's happening in the collective. There's been a lot of past life clearing and a lot of shifting with releasing emotions or releasing if there's been any, whether it's Atlantean times, witch hunt times, medieval times, where we've renounced our gifts in order to protect others. So that, we're not found on the witch hunts, or whether it was to protect others from, I guess, how do I explain? So when I've had a king come up in a reading in regards to past life and in regards to, talents and abilities and different things and flowing it into the now, sometimes what we have happen is on a multi-dimensional aspect, like each finger would represent a different timeline. So if there's a kink in the timeline or a contract or an agreement, we can release that. It flows more life force energy into the here and now. Or if there's a belief system being held around it's not safe to use my gifts or abilities, we can kind of untangle that quantum entanglement so that we flow more energy, more belief in self, allow more chi and life force to flow, and allow the psychic senses to activate a lot more. So definitely like clear out if there's any past life things, release or burn contracts, agreements, anything that might be pulling you back into self-doubt is really important. And I think looking at our pain points, it shows where we need to do the work. So say, if there's something that's constantly coming to the forefront of the mind, or something that we're constantly reacting to or we're experiencing in the world around us, we owe it to ourselves to make sure that we're not being a victim, to look into how we can change or shift our reality. I look at it as the gift, as though it's a teacher too. So I think if we can do that sort of
It's
thing.
easy for us to say when you're in a three-dimensional, when you're in that, because remember, we're talking about people that are not conscious because they're in that still in that density. This is the problem. They don't understand what you're saying won't even resonate with them because they're at a different frequency. So we're just going to talk. It's not going to happen. They're not, this is where I'm at. And as I said, remember, we've got to look at the bigger picture as well, because we're in a game of this duality and, being source aspects channeling. We just channels of consciousness. So when we've got an enormous amount of light, it's not for us. Yes, it is. It is nice to help if you can help people, we should be. And especially then, for free, because there are many, obviously the denser, darker, the most traumatized are the most, will have the most suffering, the most. So those people, they need the free help. We need to help for free, help as many, as we can, lift people up. As a collective, we lift up anyway, out of their poverty, out of their suffering, out of their trauma, out of all their nonsense, everything, just to raise them up. But the more light that comes in the planet, there's two ends.
There is.
It's a holy trinity. There were three: the dark light, and then the balance, the middle. Same with whatever it is, negative, positive, and the balance again, neutral. So we've got enormous amount of light. People can go now to the highest level of consciousness we've had before on the planet, actually. So we can really go as high as you want, and they're going to have those that are going to go as low as you want. Because if you are continuing, especially with these new energies, if you're continuing to deny your shadow, ignore it, block it, fight it, or whatever it is, it's going to get louder and louder. So we are going to see some people hit some really, dark places.
Yeah, and I
It's
think there's always that in sacred geometry, it's the law of opposites.
yes.
Yeah, so I always explain it like a pencil. So yeah, in sacred geometry, it's called law of opposites. So you always have like the dark versus light, or the two exact extreme opposites, but they can only travel and hit a certain wall before they come back to the middle. So what I'm sort of seeing is more that middle point. But also when I look into what some of the beautiful elders have said here, is that it's a sort of a splitting or a shifting of dimensions. And I wonder, with the cards that we had and the vision that I was seeing of being picked up and sort of encapsulated, waiting for, a different ground to form, or to anchor into more of like a light version, maybe there is that splitting of the different timelines, or the different places, because there really is such an extreme. And I think that, some haven't finished with a lot of the lessons here on earth. And I think that that's what we're being shown at the moment too, is to really, speed through these lessons. John's got a really interesting point here as well. Thank you, John, for joining us as well. So how do you feel about the smart cities? Many really want these, and that is their choice. We will have two societies, one connected to AI and the other that uses natural abilities. Did you have anything to comment on that one, Anna?
Yeah, that's a different timeline. That's what I say. We are many timelines overlapping. This is why and this is why people they can see it. They're like, no, we don't want that. They can see where it goes. There are timelines that are overlapping, and this is why, and they have different histories. This is why it's coming up, and the people are like, no ways. Some people can see it. Some are going to choose that. So, like they said, like Bashar said about, these beings that have come back from the future and burrowed into our parallel reality, because they basically biologically destroyed themselves, and they became so more computer than human. So these were humans that did this. So this is a timeline remember, that was the future. There's no such thing as time. So at the moment, everything is happening now. That past, the present, the future is all existing right now. So this is why we can tap into them. So what you're seeing there is a timeline that is going to play out, and they did play out, and they became the gray beings that came back to here to look for DNA. This is interesting. So you've got that timeline. Then you've got a timeline, if you reject nature, of ones that don't give a damn about, they just want to carry on pillaging and raping and plundering resources and polluting the planet and whatever, and just plant a few trees and we're all happy, whatever. We've got this timeline. Remember, you've got the Titeria. You've got one which is coming up, I see, where people are all of a sudden saying, my gosh, hidden history, where it's coming into human consciousness, where there's pyramids and things showing where there's atom bombs on these hieroglyphs and helicopter things. And that's exactly what we got now. And I'm like, yes, there's a timeline. There is a timeline, the parallel universes.
I'm getting goosebumps as you say that.
Yeah, because we are so close, because we are crossing over, because we got all these mix and matches so people can choose their timeline. Everything's just frequencies. So they're not artificial, so you actually can see them all. So we're kind of crossing over, overlapping a few timelines. So you've got the one Earth that does destroy itself. They're going to blow them. So there is one that does, annihilate themselves. But same with nature. And if you want to keep rejecting nature, she's going to reject you. So then you've got a Tartaria, kind of Atlantis type thing that can, take place. That's why Atlantis is in people's consciousness so much, because they took a negative fear-based, oh my goodness, we're expecting, and they drew it to them. Factually, they drew this thing, and they did it because it's a law of attraction. They drew this, and took them. So there are people that are still determined they're going to get this and want this outcome. No, it's going to happen. So there's apocalyptic, I suppose.
Yeah.
You got all these people, and I'm like, wow, this is fascinating.
It is.
We're going to split. They will split further down the line. I mean, eventually it's going to not see it. But I think we're at that time now where people have got to be, and I think this is what you're saying, hold up, you've got to look very carefully at what you are. Sometimes it's not what you think. If you realize everything's a mirror and it's a reflection, it's there for a reason. So that is a timeline, like that little Israeli man keeps saying, I think it's Facebook and whoever these tech companies are trying to look at extending life and biological human plants. That's them. That's a timeline. They're going to go off on that timeline and create it and become the greys. That's just, that's a fact. So they will go off, and that's a timeline that can play out. You got to choose. And then there's let's just go and destroy nature, and we have to leave the planet because we're going to have to. And already people are talking about it. Why do you think it's in their consciousness, like Elon Musk? They're seeing this because in their consciousness, that's the frequency and vibration they're at. So it's almost being put out there. Now choose, what do you want? And then there's heaven on earth.
Yeah.
There's a timeline of absolute paradise. There is. And I've seen it. It's
There is.
beautiful.
Me
And
too.
earth and nature and a shamanic. It's like the old, what do we call it? Lemuria? Lemuria. That timeline is there. These
Yeah.
timelines are all there. And before they sort of put in their little alternative media nastiness out there to scare people and to try and control the awakening movement, they lowered, they managed to put everyone's focus onto negative beings and negative things, and oh my gosh, we had to sweat or some nonsense, whatever. So this is they did unfortunately pull. So that's because of the things we did and choices we made, we did pull ourselves off, and that's why we're overlapping many of these, and that's why I think you saw this. It's like maybe there's other things, but I don't want to say them, because I find if you say things to people that haven't got, they'll fixate on it, and if they take something as a belief, they'll manifest it. So all these options are there. Choose. What do you want?
And it's funny because as you were speaking, I was getting a download from Spirit just talking about self-responsibility. I kept hearing them say, it really is stepping outside of victimhood and outside of, us against them in terms of, people running the country, the planet, and really looking at self-responsibility and, what is it that we can do? What is it that we can hold light or hold frequency with? So I think that's an important factor as well. But yeah, I've seen that I call it utopia, that Lemurian version of interconnectedness, and where we do have collective consciousness and we are able to telepathically speak to animals and to plants and each other that way. And it's things that I experience, with my abilities, being able to go out into nature and whether it's have animal communication or pick up on messages coming from plants telling me what they're good for. And I think that is the old Lemurian ways that are still kind of with our consciousness a little bit. So if we do start to shift into that timeline, it's not going to be such a big jump, but it will be waking up to, oh wow, like that tree's glowing extra today, and then feeling like drawn to it, and then letting the tree actually teach us the wisdom, or letting the medicine speak to us. And this is something that, hasn't really been lost in shaman cultures, and different places around the world still work this way.
Yeah, but people must understand, as I say, they've got to shift. If you've got to change it within you. So the shift, we've got to, if you want to see that on the outside, this is where they're distracting people so much out there. This is such a, you've got to become it. So you've got to do that work yourself. You've got to be that love and hold that love. And then you've also got to do it in a physical way. You've got to then, so it's no point saying it and then going outside and being and getting involved in division and fighting with your neighbor or whatever you're going to be. You've got to embody it and be it, to anchor it into the temporal plane if you want to be on that timeline. But that timeline you're talking about, oh, I've seen it. It came in. Here's something I really want to run by you. It came into my consciousness.
Oh, yeah. Let's see.
Because if you go back to Lemuria and everything else, we were not white at all. We were dark in complexion. Yeah. And look, was that Caribbean area, whatever, the Caribbean, that whole thing that sunk, which they actually found found there's ruins down there. That whole continent was, what's it called? If you want to call it Atlantis, whatever. But we were not, like Lemuria, Atlantis, we were not white at all in the beginning. We were dark, actually, dark complexion, much darker. And I've seen a lot of people go back and then remember we were not. And someone came across it, only rang a bell yesterday, one of the oldest Bibles. It's in Ethiopia. And all the saints and everything they're showing in that Bible were all black.
I've seen the photos or the illustrations.
But we were, and I remembered, you see them, we were like a darker, we were like almost Hawaiian type complexions. So then I'm thinking, well, when did the white appear? the white complexion. Where does the bloody white complexion come from? Where does it such a pale? And then I thought, because something Bashar said as well, that there were human genetics was fiddled with twice. Once was with obviously the Anunnaki, which were the blue beings. Actually, we get this blue comes from the blue, whatever. Anyway, now which evolved into the Lyrians and Palladians, but they were originally the Anunnaki. But this is our bloodline or whatever we were jinked from the, what do you call those, hairy Bigfoot.
Oh, yep.
Yeah, and that makes sense, as he said, because the original humanoid or species that was on the planet, and they found this thing, would carried on evolving. It would have been Bigfoot, and they did it, and that's why without being fiddled with, it's very multidimensional. So it's hard to find them. They would go between dimensions. Makes absolute sense because they do seem to vanish and disappear. So they are things, and then of course they came along and made and jinxed fiddle with us and created Homo sapien, which was the Lemurian. We see the darker version. I remember that we were much darker. So I'm thinking, okay, wait, how did we get so white? Where does this white, exactly? And then he said, when he said that, and he said, aha, they were twice we were fiddled with. Second time was in Atlantis. The Atlanteans started fiddling with, genetically before they fell. And I remember that. That's where all those beings came from, where they had half human, half dog, half this, half that, and also trying to manipulate. And he said that's for the second. I mean, it wasn't in a good way they were doing it as well, and apparently, I don't know, went into arrogance or whatever. So the second time that our genes were fiddled with was in Atlantis. And then I thought, interesting, only reason what came to me is I listened to some lecture or some person who was studying genes, and they were talking about melatonin. And they were saying the darker complexion are the best, because when they try and gene edit a person with a high melatonin, say a person
melanin.
Yeah. When they're trying, you can't do it. The actual genes resist it. Did you know that?
No, I didn't know that. I haven't seen that study. That'd be an interesting one.
Yes, very interesting. So when they've got high melatonin, it will not allow the genes to be manipulated.
Wow,
so what they think they did was actually exactly what that's when the lantern thing came out. I thought, okay. So what they think, in order to fiddle with the genes or to turn the gene off or to make you whatever else, they light, and this is where the lighter thing with the low melanin or whatever came in, so the genes could be manipulated.
That's really interesting.
It is fascinating. And when I heard this,
one of the other guests that I've had on here, Barry Littleton, he speaks he's beautiful the way that he sort of communicates all this information, but that's what he specializes in talking about, is like melanin-dominant ET races, and also talks about like the genetic side of things. But it's interesting because we have that even on the hieroglyphs that we've got here in Australia and Sydney. So I'm trying to think, Gosford glyphs it's called, but you can actually see there's a UFO in the glyph. They've got the double helix DNA spiral, and then they've got what looks like a sarcophagus. But they're talking about they came in, so the Aboriginal or the original story is that the Pleiadians came here and they sort of like intermixed or interbred with the humans. And that's how they say that we have, I guess, modern day people.
Yeah, the oldest people they've genetically come back to are the Khoisan. Well, I know them. They're fantastic people. They're in Africa, the southern tip of Africa. They're called the Khoi or the Bushmen. They're known as the Bushmen. They're the oldest Homo sapiens on the planet. And if you go and listen, I say to people, if you want to find this out, if you want to know what Lemuria was like, if you want to remember, people that still remember it, they've lived in isolation, that behave like that, you'll know it when you see them. You think there's a film called The Gods Must Be Crazy. It's free.
I remember that.
Yeah, it's made in the 80s, like the Khoisan. That's what they still do. They touch your heart, and the way they lived was exactly as you see. There's one is all. They have still retained their Lemurian teachings. Unbelievable. So you can see it in that movie, The Khoisan. It's called The Gods Must Be Crazy, made in 1989 by some man.
Yeah, I watched it as a kid. I remember it.
They're the most loving. They live within a heart chakra, very high frequency. It's amazing. So yeah, I think you're very right there. And that's when it's interesting when I thought about that, because melatonin's almost illegal in some places to buy. You've got blue lights, everything, which doesn't, which is not conducive to this.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of special abilities that Barry talks about with Malin dominant people. So I think anyone that's really interested in this topic to expand on it further, definitely check out his work and his research. I'll just make sure that we cover everything that we're going to talk about as well. We were perhaps going to do a little bit of light language as well, and talk about. We did talk about like anchoring a future and different things, but maybe if we can give some techniques and different things. Is there anything that you find that really helps to still your mind or helps to just sort of give that centralized focus for creating your reality?
It's gonna be different for everybody. Everyone's different. So there's not one that fits all because depending on what they've done in their soul, they think it's some people are going to go for yoga, some people do tai chi, meditation, chanting, mantras. So
Mm.
I find you're going to be drawn to whatever suits you. But obviously, definitely staying off social media or scrolling because whatever keeps the mind stimulated or busy, which is absolutely those things, don't help. Nature, as you said, quiet, walking,
Yeah.
meditating, and just purposely trying not to think, trying to stay in that. I mean, yeah. So it raises your frequency and vibration second to nothing. Oh,
Yeah.
it's
And
amazing.
I think about energy, as medicine too. So look at like what kind of medicine or what kind of food you're feeding your body. So whether it's listening to beautiful, crystal singing bowls, and we'll be doing a little bit more of that soon on this channel and possibly as some events and things. But yeah, this was a big push to like why I made my teas that are coming out, the Soul Alchemy potions. It's to really, if there's something that you want to manifest in your life, it's to incorporate different herbs as kind of like a ritual or for holding your focus and intention, and having that work as the charge. So there's actually a Soul Alchemy Potions channel that's about to start and a podcast that'll go with it. And it's going to be helping people to stay on track and helping to, to stay on these positive timelines, but to create our own positive timelines as well. So it will be a lot of support for people that are going through this big reality shifting, and looking at manifestation and all different things like that.
So you made all different types of teas and for different things, or give me a little bit of.
Yeah, so I've just popped them up on Instagram and Facebook, and there's a few shorts on my YouTube channel. So there's a love potion. This one's the cleansing vibes tea. So it's really great, when you want to mentally shift through things, or the love potion when you want to either feel more self-love. So it's got like cinnamon and lavender and rose, cardamom, things that are like really warming and
Yeah,
stimulating, but also have, ancient roots and magic. So it is about using nature to incorporate magic back and to, I guess find that middle ground between us and
yeah.
nature, but it's using it to, yeah, to really kind of like anchor that focus for that future positive timeline. But we'll be talking about all different other things that go with manifestation. There's Heal a Broken Heart tea, which is how it all began, was going through a heartbreak and sitting in the bath with my tea and, having this love potion, heart healing tea and going, what, if this is working for me and it's helping to shift my reality and to let go of things, there's others out there that need that.
Yes.
So yeah, there's a consciousness aspect that comes with tea as a ritual. So I'm looking to kind of bring that aspect back into the world. But yeah, in terms of like shifting, is there things that you feel that you're going to be focusing on? October is supposed to be a big month as well. Is there anything that you feel that you're going to focus on? Because you guys over there in the UK are going into colder weather soon.
Yeah, I've been guided. So let's see. I've been guided. I'm going to share it probably on YouTube and everywhere. So it'll help people as well. They can take up these. So what came through to me, I'm going to share it. It'll give people maybe ideas in their communities. So mine is to try and get, as you say, create heaven on earth. You got to, it won't happen otherwise. Trying to get people again to pull together. They're so used to everyone doing their thing, and it's not my problem and my neighbor and this and that. And there's just no sense of community again. Is to get everybody together and to get them so there's no food shortage, poverty, suffering, or anything like that. Is to get and also think about it. It helps in all aspects: mental health, growing your own vegetables, working in the land, helping each other, working together. So trying to get this entire community to start everyone as well at home, like a whole lot. I'll go into all details, all the things, but to try and get people to start growing food. Not like for sale, we're talking about grow their own food and everyone will share. So normally
Yeah.
people are doing the business thing, they're trying to think the farmers give them some idea. It's all about making money again. Mine is not, because there's many people that are going to have problems or even old and poor. So if we all are growing and we can basically all end up with free food, and it's not much,
Yeah.
but we're all contributing, we're all putting it together, all healthy, organic, food. That's it.
Yeah.
Get people
Real
back
food.
together, share, and yeah, exactly. And then you'll see everything will improve. Their health will improve. Their mental health will improve because they're eating organic food.
Mm.
There's more of a sense of community, and everyone, doing their bit. And yeah,
I love that, because think about the positive roll-on effects from that timeline. If people are working in community gardens, there's that point of connection. And as Mark was saying as well, like he mentioned in the chat, needing hugs, and we're all sending big hugs to you. That's the thing I love about this group too, is that the love that you see from the members of the audience is just beautiful. But yeah, if we look at the positive timeline effects, and I used to run an organic co-op, and it was beautiful. It was just as much about like the people coming together and all of the mums at the school that we were at, and the local community. And there was one co-op that I did where there was about 5 of us mums and all of the kids that get to play together. And, I've done other things like you can do mama bake, which is another thing, not necessarily having to be just for mums, but it's, people getting together and sharing meals and cooking. So you might bake one meal and then each person bakes enough to feed possibly 5 families of that one recipe.
yeah.
Then you all swap over and you've got your week's worth of dinner cooked. So
That's
little
what I'm
things like
saying.
that. Yeah.
If we've already built up enough momentum with everyone's negativity and all this other that's been going on, and if there's going to be troubles with electricity or food or supplies and things like that, there are people that are going to suffer. So and if you get everyone together, it also helps with the children, because people forget children, and children often feel left out, because that's why there's a lot of problems with teenagers and mental health issues, because they feel they have no purpose, they no use, they know, but if they feel that they are doing something, they are actively, they are needed, they are useful, they are, helpful as well. So involving everybody. I mean, I'm talking about the churches. It's a long list, but so let's see. But pulling everybody together,
Yeah, but it's great because it's a physical action that that people can take.
Yeah.
I know my partner and I have been planting a lot more, and just we've got a stack of seeds that that we're looking at doing. But it's more that mindset of shifting into, we've got some things in the garden that we need to use up at the moment, but we just planted a couple of tomato plants a couple of weeks ago. But we need to, get out there, get our hands in the dirt more. I'm more the cook rather than the
This is
gardener.
different
But
here because
everyone has their role.
yeah, so England's it's different to other countries, because if you notice, we still everything's back in the 1700s, 1600s. So they've got these little boxes, mainly most people are either in apartments, blocks, flats,
Yeah.
very little of the actual land. I mean, most of the community, the entire population lives on 6% of the land. So they live in these little, what do you call, trestled houses. So very few people have any gardens or any, and the majority do not have gardens. So there's no growing here. So this is why I know it's a little bit more, yeah.
Although there is, I think it was maybe David Avocado Wolf talking about like container gardens inside, so having the pots and everything grow inside. So especially with the climate over there in the UK and other parts of the world, in Canada and different
It's
places
so
like that,
nice.
where it's a bit harder, you can still grow things indoor and, possibly for them to even
They don't
thrive.
have the light, you see, because if you grow it
Mm.
inside, you need enough light, and their houses are so small. They're very small, these apartments. So they're really built, the way they're designed. So
Yeah.
it is
I
a
guess
time.
that's where it would be a hydroponic, setup, something like
Is
that
it different?
with,
I'm trying to
with
get,
the
there's many
lighting.
different ways I'm looking at it and trying to get everybody to do their bit. And this one to, the ones, yeah, I know. It's a long, but let's see. I mean, who knows? It might not, I'm just guided to go in that direction. Whether it goes, who
Mm.
knows what spirits go? I mean, I don't know. We'll just see what happens.
Yeah.
Just let
Or
it unfold.
even what Ronnie's saying as well, like if you're in a limited space, you can do sprouts. And that's such a good emergency food to have on hand. It takes about 3 days to sprout. They're one of the most nutrient dense foods that you can eat. Broccoli sprouts are anti-cancer. They've got saphanes in it, which are, help to fight cancer and to help to regenerate and heal. I've even seen psychically where they help to activate the third eye. So sprouts, they're an amazing, wonderful food, so
Yeah.
full of electricity and light.
Yeah. It's just getting everyone to try and work together, cooperate with each other, and then you can be amazed what you can achieve. It's incredible.
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely. So we just come to the top of the hour. I just wanted to mention as well all of your links for people to jump on and follow you on TikTok. And you've got your own YouTube channel and things too. I've popped them in the description link. So everyone will be able to find information around that. You'll be able to see some information on soul alchemy potions with the teas, and you'll be able to see some of the magical videos that I've popped out, which,
Yeah,
I
let
keep
me
watching
know.
them over and over because they're
Let me
just, you
know
can, yeah,
about
I
your
will.
psychic course. You said you're doing something about a psychic course. What is that all about?
Yeah, so I'm doing one activating the psychic senses. So far it's up to about 32 chapters or 32 lessons in the course. So it's taken a long time to put together, but that one will be coming out hopefully before the end of this year. It's just a matter of now getting the filming side of things done. But yeah, that's quite exciting. So what we might do is finish with a little bit of light language as well, and just sort of share a little bit of an activation and perhaps some love, because it feels like, there needs to be a collective hug here today as well. So we'll do a little bit of that, and then I'll just come back to you and see if there's anything else that you wanted to mention. So for those that haven't experienced light language, it is where we tap into a language that's not understood and translated word for word. It is one that's more connected to our souls, connected to collective consciousness, connected to God, connected to our higher selves. So it is one that's kind of more felt and experienced. So if there's any colors or impressions or feelings that you get, just go with it. And then I'll translate into English. Iayanara to kayanara sutanara. Ala shayanara to kayala nara to koya. Ma nara to koyala nara to satara. Ala nara to koyara sunara to kaisharla. Ala nara to koyal nara to koyasiara tur. Ala nara ora sonara to kayayunala. Ad nara to kayal nara to kayausunara. Mahar sunara to kayala nara to kayar. So the translation of that, I saw this beautiful vision of the sun coming down, and it was this glowing kind of pink magenta sun. Sometimes when you close your eyes, but you're feeling the vibration of the sun, you see it as like magenta or sometimes blue. I saw the energy of the sun with all of the codes, and I felt the collective consciousness energy kind of vibrating or resonating with the sun, but I actually felt more the message coming from the sun of I'm giving different codes at the moment, and it's all about opening up and receiving these codes. So I definitely think it's so important at the moment, if you are going into winter or going into fall, as half the world is, it's important to get out there to get that vitamin D, to get that spiritual connection to the sun. And that's the way it was shown to me in that vision, was coming back to this spiritual essence of connection with the sun. Was there anything that you wanted to mention just before we finish up, or anything that you felt on it?
No, but I do notice that going to the collective is coming up. Like I got this thing, that your strong aspect. So whether everyone's got this aspect, whether it's some sort of warrior figure, whether it's Michael, Archangel, whatever. Can't think of it now. Poseidon, whatever. That's when you've got that symbol of strength. So I'm thinking, okay, so it's for us to stand strong. But that's what I say. I think we're going to be put into that space of leadership.
Yeah.
And guidance.
And I guess it's about looking at, how can we action that? Because that's that next step, isn't it? To take it from a feeling into how can we outright action that into the world?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Well,
please, I hope you're going to upload, because I'm going to ask people to check out a little more detail on your psychic courses, just explaining the levels or what it is. And I don't know, but something about it. So people are interested.
So we'll be going into the spiritual anatomy too. So I'll actually be breaking down sort of the physical hardware of the body and how the psychic senses connect. So to really be giving like more in-depth background rather than just, kind of looking into how the senses, or like how to activate. So I love to dive into the anatomy and physiology and the spiritual aspects. So it's going to be a real blending of different things that have not really been released before. So it's, yeah, really exciting. But thank you so much for joining us today, Honor. It was such a beautiful chat.
You're welcome. And let's do it again. I really wanted to chat to you along. I love your energy. I love your soul. You've got a beautiful,
Oh,
gentle energy. You really have.
thank you. Such a sweetheart. Well, I'm sending you lots of love over there in the UK, and I know it's very late, so thank you so much for staying up. And thank you to everyone for joining us. Please go check out Honor's work and follow her on TikTok and YouTube. And yeah, look forward to chatting to you soon.
Okay, darling.
All
You
right.
too.
Have a good night. Bye, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.